It's MAGA Hat Monday, my friends. It's MAGA Hat Monday.
On Friday night, Axios obtained the audio from then President Biden's interview with former special counsel Robert Hur, who was investigating Biden's mishandling of classified documents. In that audio tape, you hear President Biden rambling, unable to keep a train of thought, getting dates wrong. Let's run a little clip of that.
Trump gets elected in November of 2017? 2016. All right. So, why did I have 2017 here?
That's when you left office, January of 2017.
Okay. But that's when Trump gets sworn in.
Right.
January.
Right. Correct.
Needless to say, even supporters of the president have heard these tapes and been alarmed by it. What was your response to them? Did you see much of that when you had meetings and interactions with President Biden during his term?
No, I didn't. You know, the fact of the matter is I saw Biden often, but not as often as people seem to think. I saw him, I talked to him on the telephone very often. And I never saw anything that I thought was outside of the ordinary. I watched my dad reach the age of 80, and I saw him slow down. He couldn't do the same things he did at 50 or 60, but it didn't bother his mental capacity at all. And then my father died from prostate cancer. So I never saw anything I thought was unusual. Did he talk as swiftly as he used to talk? No, he didn't. Did he walk as swiftly? No, he didn't. But that is to be expected. Those of us who reach that age, as I have, we don't walk as often as fast as we used to. And I may talk as fast as I used to, but we down here in the South don't talk all that fast anyway.
Illuminati is a thing you need to watch out for. They want to depopulate and slave us so much more. World domination, I'll get into that later. I'm hardcore, fierce and sexy. You're just a hater. You deserve the ridicule because you're an absolute zero. I'm the keeper of the chalice, a rock and roll hero. I'm not an idiot nobody listens to, because I'm not a failure in life like you. Let's talk about Bill Gates and the mark of the beast and the orgies in the streets at the Catholic feasts and Bill and Hillary's human trafficking ring. And George Soros got the money to pay for everything. Socialism is for losers, working for the devil. Chumps that can't fight, they ain't on my level. It takes an evil one to try to debunk a doubter, so I'd rather die than stop talking about it. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. Watch out for the Illuminati. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. Watch out for the Illuminati. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. Watch out for the Illuminati. Watch out for the Illuminati.
Welcome to the MC Too Tall Show. I, of course, am your hardcore, fierce, and sexy host, the master of sound quality, MC Too Tall. And just to let you know, I also just so happen to be a hip-hop legend, recording engineer, and underground rock and roll hero. And for added information that you may need to know is, never did I, never will I be that guy in a dress. And I also do not do the man bun thing. But what I'm more than happy to do is order my breakfast from Wild Bagels in beautiful Brooklyn, New York. I just had bacon, egg, and cheese on a plain bagel with a little bit of salt and pepper and a large coffee. I take mine light and sweet, just like yours truly here. And so you could stop by Wild Bagels if you're interested in a breakfast like this. And they got so much more. They got croissants, they got rolls, they got heroes for lunchtime. The address for Wild Bagels is 1901 Stillwell Avenue, in case you want to swing by there yourself. It's, of course, in beautiful Brooklyn, New York. Or if you want to order it like I do, give them a call at 718-333-WILD. That's 718-333-WILD. Wild Bagels, my friends. Wild bagels. You can't go wrong with the wild bagels. And I had to have my cup of coffee for this one. You know, as happy as people were when they got news of my parents one by one getting cancer and dying of cancer, and a lot of people celebrated that I went to school with, and people that I've worked with, and people in the music scene. They find out members of my family die, they celebrated. I don't feel like celebrating at the news of Joe Biden having prostate cancer. And the news has come out that he's got prostate cancer, and they're calling it aggressive prostate cancer. Basically, he's got cancer that is at such an advanced stage that it's spread to his bones already. And if it's that advanced, his physicians should have known about it. Jill Biden should have known about it, instead of pushing him to become president again, instead of pushing him for that second term for president. And she was pushing and pushing. It's all on her that there was such a delay in coming up with a candidate for president. And there was such a long delay that they couldn't do any type of primary. They couldn't do any type of runoff. And even people on the left were getting annoyed by it, because they, for all intensive purposes, coronated Kamala Harris to be your future queen. And as I said, people on the left were even annoyed by it. And so, you know, you take a person that had obvious he had obvious inabilities to put a sentence together. He was on a severe cognitive decline. He's on a severe cognitive decline, which people saw as far back as 2019. 2019, people were seeing this. I would even argue the same Joe Biden we saw attempting to run for a second term in 2024 was the same cognitive, or incognitive, I should say, mess that we saw running for his first term as far back as those debates in 2019. And it's horrible, folks. It's horrible. The rest of the world saw it. But again, as you see at the beginning of this report here, Jake Tapper is pretending that he didn't know about it. He's gassing us. He's gaslighting us on some crazy notion that he was gaslit by the Democrats. And I think he and James Clyburn there, or Clyburn rather, are going through some sort of charade. They're playing charades right there when they should be reporting the news. At least Tapper should be reporting the news. And he's not. Him and Clyburn are doing this little dance in front of you to try to give you the impression that CNN is a legitimate news network. They're garbage. I'll be the first to tell you, my videos are opinion pieces. And more times than not, I would even go as far as to call them hit pieces. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with claiming that I'm consumed by taking down the Democrats because they're an evil brood. And I'm okay with that. You know what you're getting when you watch my videos. You know you're going to get something that will never have anything nice to say about the Democrats. You know this already. But people like Jake Tapper, Snapper Head, are trying to mislead you into believing that they report real news. Sleepy eyes, sleepy ass Chuck Todd, same thing. Do you really think Chuck Todd and Jake Tapper are just finding out about this now? Do you really think that? Do you really think they were curious about it back then? And they were asking questions and were kept in the dark about it? They knew everything. Everything. I would go out on a limb and say it can't be ruled out, it cannot be completely ruled out that these leftist news networks knew about Joe Biden's cancer more than Joe Biden himself did. That's what I believe. Now, I'm not making a charge on it. I'm not saying this really happened. But you'd be a fool not to make that guess unless you have all the facts in front of you that can deny this altogether. And you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. So, you know, it's very sad that to see another human being wither and die from cancer. And from what the reports say, from what the news says, it's quite possible that our most recent president of the United States may not make it to the end of the year. It can't be ruled out. We'll be talking about Joe Biden's funeral by around November of this year. Not wishing that on him, but I've seen these things. I know a thing or two about these things firsthand. It's rapid. It's ugly. It ain't pretty. And it still, however, does not change the fact that when he had all his marbles and he had his health, he was an evil, evil man. He's suffering from stuff I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy, but that doesn't change the fact that he was an evil, evil man, serving only himself and his family, so that through his family, he can serve himself. Doesn't change that. Is Donald Trump rough-edged a little bit? Yeah, sure. He is a little bit rough-edged. But he's become more of a civilized human being. His heart was always in the right place. He was always a generous person. He was supposed to charge for appearances on different various shows and never did, including a show that Whoopi Goldberg was in. He and Whoopi Goldberg were friends, and now she's spouting blatant lies about him. Oprah Winfrey was one of the three people, besides Larry King and my father, who were the first three to suggest that Donald Trump run for president. And then when he actually did run for president, she had a problem with it. Oprah is a very wealthy clown. And you see all these people that have issues with Donald Trump, all these people trying to remove Donald Trump from office, trying to stick Donald Trump in jail, trying to impeach Donald Trump. What happened with that Tanada impeachment inquiry? It got thrown out. Why? Because look at the source. The source is a practitioner, a regular practitioner to this very day of animal cruelty. The guy committed so much animal cruelty that he cannot be looked upon as anything more than an animal himself. And a vicious, brutal, soulless one at that. Nancy Pelosi. Don't get me started on the whole stock tip thing with her. Jerry Nadler runs his congressional district so horribly that a majority Democratic congressional district nearly voted him out of office. He barely squeaked past Mike Zambluski. And that man had my vote, and I would urge him to run again. And look at the most recent thing. I told you about this in one of my most recent videos. Hakeem Jeffries. Diddy party. Need I say more? But let me say more. Diddy party involving communist cosplay. You can't make this stuff up. You got a bunch of freaks and weirdos going after the head of Donald Trump. Letitia James, Fonnie Willis. They were in some sort of scandal themselves. Letitia James with the real estate. Fonnie Willis with going on vacations with her boyfriend, pulling strings to get her boyfriend on the case with her. Some horrid stuff. It's something how Democrats just cannot stay away from crime, and crime runs rampant because of the Democrats. I would love to make one of these videos without having to say that. But every time I come on here, the Democrats themselves just throw me another reason to have to remind you guys crime runs rampant because of the Democrats. It's so evident. It's so evident. The espionage, the cover-up. We have a man that ran for a second term as president who wasn't even fit to serve his first term, who wasn't even fit to run for his first term. We have a press out there who, by large, knew damn well about it, covered it up, and tried to silence and shame people that came on their programs to talk about it. Shame on them. They're supposed to give you unbiased news. Nobody knew that Walter Cronkite was a Democrat. And up until Bush 41 ran for president, nobody knew Dan Rather was a Democrat. Nobody knew until Ted Koppel retired and came back out of retirement that he was a Democrat. And he invites Sean Hannity on his show to scold him. But meanwhile, Ted Koppel is a former journalist. Now he's one of these news magazine hit piece guys. But he's relegated himself to be another Jake Tapper. He's relegated himself to be another Brian Stelter, another Don Lemon, another Chris Cuomo. And I'm disappointed in Ted Koppel, but these are the people who could have told you there was something wrong with Joe Biden back then. Instead of trying to discredit Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson. Instead of trying to discredit Joe Rogan. Well, haha, joke's on them. More people watch Joe Rogan than them. There are people who've been saying this for years. Now, I've been saying this not as far back as 2019 because I had other things to talk about. But I wasn't trying to cover it up and say Joe Biden's doing just fine. I just wasn't talking about the Democrats running for president until it got a little bit closer to the election. Until it was down to Bernie and Biden. Then I started talking about it. And back then I was mentioning it. So, me sitting in my living room watching their news programs, I was more in tune with what was going on with Joe Biden than they were. Make that make sense, homies. Make that make sense. It doesn't mean it doesn't mean I couldn't see it. It means they saw it and said nothing. It should have been more evident to them since they were right on top of the scenario and said nothing. This is what bothers me so much, folks. This is what bothers me so much. And this is why this broadcast is as long as it is. Because it should bother you, the American people, that we had a shell of a man that they cloaked as a president. They put the cloak of a president on him and said, he's fine. He is sharp, as Alejandro Mayorkas said. They love saying sharp, 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 sharp. Sharp like a Sharpie, right? But not a brand new Sharpie. A Sharpie that you make a stabbing motion towards a brick wall with, and then look at that point. How sharp is the point of that Sharpie? That's how sharp Joe Biden is. That's how sharp he's been, at least since 2019. But all of a sudden it's coming as a surprise to the left media. No, I'm not buying that bridge that goes from Brooklyn to Manhattan from you guys. My God. Shame on you, the left-wing media. Shame on you for being as biased as you are. Shame on you, the media, for being left-wing. Shame on any media that does not hold the Democrats accountable. They think the Democrats are infallible. Or they know they're not, but try to sell them off to you as infallible. And some of the gullible sheeple actually believe the Democrats are infallible. During the 2016 presidential race, with all those Republicans running for president, with all those Democrats running for president, you had people that picked out Hillary Clinton and said, she is obviously the one clear choice and the only one fit to be president of the United States. Not the other Democrats she was running against. Not anybody running for president as a Republican. And you had some decent choices there, I'll admit. It wasn't just Trump. You had, Rand Paul ran for president. He would have made a decent president. I'm glad Trump won. But it would not have been the end of the world if Rand Paul got it. And there were Democrats that ran against Hillary. Now, I'm no fan of Bernie Sanders, but a lot of those Democratic voters voted for Bernie. And they screwed him over. And they screwed him over again to slip Joe Biden in there. You bunch of clowns. If you wanted a decent Joe Biden as president, you could have ran him while he was still incumbent vice president. And I'm kind of glad they didn't, because statistically speaking and following trends and what people go for, even though I would not have wanted him to beat Trump, he would have beaten Trump. He would have had the power of incumbency. He was the incumbent vice president. And it wasn't as evident that the country was in as bad a shape as Trump was saying. Doesn't mean it wasn't, but with the way the press was so slighted, it wasn't as evident. If they ran Joe Biden in 2016, Joe Biden would have won. Then they could have said, "Oh, he's not feeling well. Let him not run again." And then you had a nice array of people that he could have picked as a vice president instead of Kamala Harris. In hindsight, I'm glad that didn't happen, because Trump is president now. However, here we are. The press knew there was something wrong with Joe Biden, did nothing, said nothing, and you fast forward to today, you fast forward to these times, I should say, and we have Jake Tapper and James Clyburn doing a little tap dance for you, the sheeple who are still watching CNN and still believe it to be a viable source of news and information. Shame on you if you don't turn your set off. And to all my John Crancians following me, your hardcore, fierce, and sexy host, I say, respect God, watch out for the Illuminati. Please share this video, tell all your friends about me. Stay strong, keep kicking that slang. It's your boy in the building, hip-hop legend, recording engineer, and underground rock and roll hero, MC Too Tall. Till the next time.